Okay, yeah. Well, I know for sure I've got this thing on. Anyway, I'll show you what I actually do. I mean, the reason behind this thing that I'm putting on. It's not just to make me cute or anything, but in this video it's going to illustrate a bit of a point of what, or something about me. Roll the intro. G'day fellow creatures, Argonian. This is Must-Musty and subscribe to Argonian here on YouTube and online ambassador Black Marsh, Bruzo Dragonius. You probably would wonder what's with this significant scarf that I'm wearing that I ended up buying from, I think, eBay and all that kind of stuff. Well, the thing about it is that the only thing that why I'm putting this thing on is because of a purpose. And in case that you haven't know or haven't even followed me on any of my socials like Twitter, Facebook, probably if you friend me on Facebook, or Blue Sky, and also on TikTok, which is the things that are on the description down below if you haven't followed me already. I've got a confession to make. I'm actually a pro-Palestinian activist and all that kind of stuff. And I know for sure that this is a very, very controversial video because of some things that I really wanted to do. I really wanted to bring out there with all my creative juices and all that kind of stuff, even though that I don't really have the funding for this at the moment. But I want to bring this sort of project in mind back onto YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And yes, you are heard right. I, alongside the majority of the furry fandom, as you can tell by the Palestinian flags on their profiles, as I know that one of them had ended up having a video out on Facebook, attending a pro-Palestine gathering or pro-Palestine protest, which is at the moment antagonized by the right wingers at the moment, under the assumption that they call us terrorist supporters or Hamas supporters. And before this sort of thing that I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend who ended up being who recently been in a pro-Palestine protest back in Adelaide, South Australia. Admiringly, and as a dinosaur, Gage, for ending up doing his part to attend the pro-Palestine protest back in Adelaide and all that kind of stuff, which I really, really have even more respect for him, and I really admire his skill, his initiative for that, because I know for sure that us furries are against, there's one thing that we are looked down upon, and that is genocide. We are against the genocide of every single minority, be it as Aboriginals, being as Ukrainians, hell, even being with the people that are facing the absolute most live-streamed genocide that we are seeing in mainstream media as well, the Palestinians. You see, I didn't want to do an Argonian.pov video on this sort of matter because the fact being is that it's going to end up triggering the wrong people. It's going to put me further on as a racist, even though that I am not intentionally racist. I'm just a bit. It's a complete and utter misunderstanding of what's going on in the whole entire world, you know. And now the thing about it is that it really does open my eyes, because I know that I did have until, I mean, even though that people keep on saying that this war had been going on since 7th of October 2023, which to me, and to most of us, and even though that the information that I ended up receiving is that this thing had been going on since pretty much after World War II, when the settlers ended up leaving Europe because of the Holocaust there, and they ended up going to Palestine just as a bit of a refuge. And no, I am not going to call that land Israel, because to me, Israel is not meant to be a country, but more of a refugee camp originally for the Jews that escaped the Holocaust in Germany. I know that at the moment there was meant to be a ceasefire, some sort of a hostage exchange between Hamas and Israel, even though the media out there only refers the hostages only as the Israeli settlers, even though that from what I believe is that there are some among the Israeli captives, or the Israeli settler captives, that doesn't really deserve to be called hostages, but of course prisoners for what they are, for all the crimes that some of them committed against the innocent Palestinian people. And I know that this is a very, it may seem political to some of you, right? But this may be, some of you right-wingers may see us pro-Palestinian people as, and I quote, an allegedly anti-Semitic, hating of Jews. Because the fact being is that we do not like what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people. And I really see the IDF as the terrorists. I'm a bit iffy about Hamas as well. But at the same time, the more that this genocide did keep on continuing, this isn't out of politics, right? This is for the sake of humanity. But the sooner I see the bombings that Israel have done, just remember, Israel had killed over 500,000 Palestinians, 30,000 plus of which are children, are young kids. Some of those kids, some of them that didn't get killed are now, like, some of them have been tortured, raped, and the hiss knows what in the Israeli prisons, or should I say concentration camps. Now, I know for a fact that we are witnessing a genocide. Some of the Zionists wanted to end up killing the Palestinian people. The right-wingers say that most of the Palestinians are none other but terrorists. No, but to me, they are defending themselves simply. Because you're going to have to see what like the audacities that they ended up doing. Israel had blown up hospitals, schools, homes, other sort of infrastructure within Gaza and the Palestinian villages in the West Bank. That to me is really, really horrible. Israel had even unpurposely weaponized a famine to the Palestinians. Before October 7th, 2023, there have been so much ridiculous laws that Israel brings to the Palestinians. You can't drink from your own water. You're not allowed to fish from your own oceans. In some cases, the Palestinians are not allowed to have their own flag because Israel had deemed it a terrorist symbol. So that got me thinking. And I ended up being approached by a friend of mine that's an artist that would thought that she, at one stage, wanting to help me or gave me an idea of bringing out this webcomic, right, and helping me with it. At first, I didn't seem to, don't know what the story and all this, what to do like in this webcomic, and I would have been thinking, well, this artist and that proposed that they wanted to have me as the main character of a webcomic. I would say, well, I'm really more than keen. And I would have thought, well, I know that for sure that there's been a bit of a ceasefire at the moment in Gaza and, and a bit of a hostage exchange and all that kind of stuff. Even though that there's some people, the right wingers are really iffy about Hamas at the moment, whereas I'm at the moment a bit iffy on the IDF, on Benjamin Netanyahu. So that got me thinking. And I know for sure there has been cases that there's so many pro-Palestinian activists that ended up making various attempts to bring aid into Gaza from the other side of the Mediterranean Sea. There's been a lot of time, and in fact, Greta Thunberg, God bless her, had been in Gaza, had made 2 attempts to go into Gaza. One of them on the Mandela, or the Freedom Flotilla, and the other one, she was in one of the leading ships in the Samud Flotilla. There have been more and more people that ended up going up to deliver aid into Gaza and failed because of the pirates that the mainstream media had deemed them as the Israeli Navy. So I would have thought, well, how can we bring this awareness? How can we bring this awareness about this genocide, even more of this awareness? And I would have think, well, wait a minute. There's people saying to me, the right wingers, the pro-Zionists, the pro-Israeli people saying to me that they say, well, if you care about the Palestinians so much, why don't you get your ass down over to Gaza and fight and protest there? Which I even got the inspiration from that. So if you're the right wingers, damn me to the void for being constantly pro-terrorist Israel, but at the same time, thank you so much for this idea. I'll be thinking, what if in this series, which I like to name as Bruzo -1, this is what this project that I'm just calling it, Bruzo -1. Maybe that we do need a Godzilla type creature. We need a Godzilla to protect the Palestinians from the Israelis. Maybe that they might have a Godzilla to oppose the genocide throughout all of history. Because you've got to realize that Godzilla originally got designed as a character to oppose nuclear testing. And then make a mockery out of the incompetence of the Japanese government for building a nuclear power plant right near a fault line. This is like how Shin Godzilla came in. So I got a feeling, well, what if I become a Godzilla variant? But it wouldn't be that much of a big kaiju and all that kind of stuff, like what Godzilla is normally be. But what if this Godzilla ended up being just normal human size, or slightly taller than a human, but not as big as a skyscraper? For instance, what if this Godzilla and Predator ended up fusing together to help and bring awareness to all this crap that gone on in Gaza and in the West Bank? This is what Bruzo Dragonius is about. I know that this is going to be a bit of a long video, but in this story, this is a bit of a what if thing. That maybe I was thinking, well, what if I ended up going out to Gaza just to protect the Palestinians from the Israelis, by every means necessary? What if I ended up going over there to protect the Palestinians, which I would end up doing in this series? What if I was there in time to save such martyrs, such as the lives of such martyrs like Hinrajab and the other Palestinians that ended up being shot? And speaking of Hinrajab, I was thinking, well, to honor her memory, I want to include Hinrajab as a character in the story within this webcomic as well. I wanted to end up bringing out the story of Hinrajab, where she and her family is trying to get the hell out of Gaza for safety, and they ended up being chased by the Israeli Defense Force, or the ILF, because they were intending to kill them. Imagine that being such a young child, a young 6-year-old child, that and her family ended up wanting to get out of Gaza, get out of all this terrible, all this type of thing. It's no kid, no child her age should experiencing fearing for their life. I believe that every single kid, no matter what race they are, Arab, Jewish, white, black, whatever, should at least have a decent childhood. And I know for a fact that I'm more open on this, even though that there's been a sort of a situation like with Superman, with the newest Superman movie, this similar occurrence that's in the inspiration of that, where there is the IDF backed by America and Hamas. Superman was in fact on the side of Hamas, or protecting the Palestinians. I know for sure that it may not be Palestine and Israel, but it would be, something that's a bit similar to that sort of situation, where Superman was protecting the oppressed, underprivileged minority over some government or such oppressors having this much advanced weaponry, vehicles, and armor, while the other side had completely nothing to defend themselves with, because they know for a fact that it's other land. So again, I want to honor Henry Jab's memory of having her as a side character to Bruzo. I would be thinking, well, okay, in this one part, that Bruzo ended up saving Henry Jab from the Israelis. With a lot of gunfire, with a lot of shootings and all that kind of stuff. And I probably would be there, ending up trying my hardest. Just even, it may be a standoff with me and the IDF, but then I know for the thing of that it's ended up being a bit of a, how can I say, a bit of a huge battle of myself protecting this little kid, 6-year-old girl, against fully grown Israeli settler terrorists. And eventually, since in this dust settles and all that kind of stuff, I don't know how this story is going to happen, but when this dust settles, that her parents ended up dead. Most of her family ended up being shot. Henry Jab will then see me as an angel. She would see me as a dinosaur that ended up saving her. And there may be some and it all escalates with me, you know, being ended up hunting down. I would end up killing an Israeli soldier. And then I would be thinking that there could be another side story as to maybe we can just like say, well, there would be like a team of, you know, scientists that wanted to get into Gaza. Maybe they may, and here's where the Predator kicks in, right? I've already did the Godzilla thing, right? The Godzilla element, now the Predator element. Well, you see, there's going to be so much. I mean, you wouldn't see me as unmasked and all that kind of stuff, right? Even though that out of character that this is a mask. But I would be thinking, well, maybe after that siege and all that kind of stuff, and the attempted murder of Henry Jab, I probably would imagine the whole entire media would just say, well, there's a dragon that ended up killing some of the Israeli terrorists. Some of the Israeli Zionists, including Benjamin Netanyahu, which I would put him into the story. I know for sure that Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, and the other right wingers, they honestly want my head. They were dreaming of making me into a belt, right? As something to show that, you know, to make me as an example for any other people or any other creature that were there of their suspecting protecting terrorists. I probably would put in this story of maybe that I ended up killing this Israeli person's son or daughter. And then the father are now hunting me down. So you probably would see the Arnold Schwarzenegger element there of the Predator, because like, you know, because in Predator there's like a GI hunting this creature, this predator creature, for some reason. And then you got, and I was thinking, well, maybe let's put in a team of biologists to have a look at this creature that I am. Maybe that there could be some sort of a political disagreement, or everything would be in political turmoil. Maybe because of this creature that's ended up being this lizard man that killed the IDF. Maybe that there's people want to see me alive being studied, or even dead, to be dissected to see the anatomy of, or something like that. And another thing, I'm not going to end up exposing this face. This is the actual face of the creature. That is me, right, in this story. But on the game, you'll notice that I always wear a mask over me. And it is for a very good reason. Because the fact being is that I honestly want to be an anonymous apparition. I made a lot of costume designs on Hero Forge of what I probably may look like. You probably would see me wearing what appears to be a Hamas-like uniform, but half of it would be an Israeli uniform that is being altered. Even though I do sort of play as myself in a Spelljammer campaign, and they put me on as a ranger, even though I'm thinking about multi-classing as a sorcerer on D&D, that video, but in this story, in this thing, that I probably would end up having some gun training. I probably would have like a bow and arrow with me and all that kind of stuff. I would even, have some certain abilities, such as various shouts, because I know for sure that Bruzo as a character, as my persona, that he is also a dragonborn, but in the Elder Scrolls lore. So there probably would be a lot of Elder Scrolls fan fiction there in that element, especially the Full Sword Dar. There could be some. I was thinking that there would be some things where I probably would do some side missions as well, like as in escorting the 34 killer boats into Gaza by swimming to and from those things within the Mediterranean, because I know for sure that Argonians are very proficient in swimming and in so many aquatic abilities. So probably that would probably do with that as well. Also, I ended up having the side missions of me just escorting the aid trucks into Gaza and trying with my best ability to clear out or to eliminate the Zionists that sort of protected the border between Gaza and Israel, and even in Egypt. There would end up being a lot of military elements there could be a lot of, I was thinking there's a lot of drones that would end up coming towards me and trying to kill me. And with me trying to defend myself from them like that, with a couple of fire breaths and all that. Or you probably, in this sort of series, you probably would get me to have like a handgun or some sort of a M16 weapon and all that kind of stuff. And probably that will be the issued weapon that the IDF has. defending myself against the drones by shooting them. Like, I know for sure that the sky's the limits and all that kind of stuff that I probably would do. Even if I ended up, even there would be a lot of deaths of humans in this story that I could imagine. Maybe that there's a lot of out of my corpse or whatever, because lizards are all leather and scales and all that kind of stuff. So I would imagine that they maybe want to make me as an armor. There could be some. I could imagine that there could be some stages that there could be some robots that I would end up fighting as well. Maybe some killer animatronic robots. Like, I don't know. What if we put in the Five Nights at Freddy's Springtrap suits, or maybe, I don't know, Spring Bonnie type clones and all that kind of stuff, and end up killing me, and I would end up fighting them as well. Story. I probably would be thinking, well, maybe we could just make it a bit of a mini-series, which will end up leading to the escape, and then probably to the to what I wanted to this sort of law, which would end up being like my of me being in a Stargate and being in the Astral Sea with the other of my D&D friends, characters and all that kind of stuff. Probably on to Spelljammer and all that kind of stuff. And so it probably would lead up to that. But at the same time, I know for sure that I ended up being this will be a really long video just to explain this sort of project that I'm thinking about doing. I'm not sure about how long this ceasefire in Gaza is going to last. I'm just going to hope that that Gaza will be rebuilt for the Palestinians. The hostages would all be released. And no, I am refusing to call that land Israel. And I also refuse to call the Palestinians prisoners, that they're captive, because they are not. Some of them got arrested and no trial, and even at such a young age, for simply defending themselves. So anyway, that Bruzo there's a character in that. I originally wanted him to be portrayed as a hero and the martyr. But to do that would be deemed as anti-Semitic, because even though that in America, by legal terms, if you criticize Israel, you are by some chance as an anti-Semitic scumbag. And just because that I criticize Israel for their war crimes doesn't exactly mean that I'm anti-Semitic, because I don't hate Jews. I just don't like their government, right? And I do admit that I know for sure that I'm not open to this sort of matter, because the fact being is that I want to someday go to America someday, to go to some furry conventions like Anthrocon. I want to at least be allowed in America and go to those cons just to experience the furry fandom there. So instead, I wanted to make this as a bit of a monster flick. You know, Bruzo wanted to be a monster flick. And the only thing that could work without me being outed as a quote anti-Semitic is that what if, say for instance, I want to bring awareness to what the Palestinians are going through, the crap that they're going through, of all the starvation, the indiscriminate shooting, the carpet bombing, and all that. All as an excuse of Hamas allegedly committed such of what really is a setup on October 7th. I know for sure that most of the movies, like Jurassic Park and King Kong and all that kind of stuff, the most common trope is to challenge the audience of different scenarios that's going throughout history and all that kind of stuff. What a Jurassic Park, to challenge whether or not that it's of what if you're playing God to bring back something that had been extinct for 45 million years ago. With Godzilla questioning us or challenging us to think about the factors of nuclear arms testing, or the way that the Japanese, or the conduct of the politicians around the world. Whether in King Kong, that we have so much, that humans have so much misconceptions of a certain person and all that kind of stuff, that probably would be seen as a monster, but deep down inside, that person only wanted to, or that character, or that thing, wanting to protect, wanting to be with a girl, and being the only one in, being the only one of their species. So I know for sure that, so maybe that people, I'm going to see if other people and all that kind of stuff, that maybe that Bruzo -1, maybe it could be up to their interpretation. People may be inside of Team Bruzo. Maybe that there could be other some hateful people that are still backing Israel. But who knows? Anyway, I'm just literally just ranting on about it. So, like I said, thank you so much for watching this video. To my new subscribers, thank you so much. I know it's been about around half an hour. Tell me what you think about this idea. Do you like it? Do you want to see it continue or something like that? And I know for sure that it will cost, this project of mine will end up costing me money, because no, I am not using AI for this. This is going to be a human body of work. I probably would be, of course, voicing Bruzo and perhaps some other characters, because even though I'm working on my voice of Benjamin Netanyahu, I don't know that, you know, I know that he has this kind of voice, and you know, that's just me. So if you do like this video, give it a thumbs up button. Smash that bell icon to be to be the first one to know when my next video is coming up. Also, I'm just ranting on and all that kind of stuff. If you do like my video, please consider subscribing and hit the bell icon. The usual stuff is all in the description down below. Where to follow me as well as well to give me money. If you want to friend me on PSN or meet me in Tamria, my gamer tag is Bruzo21. Thank you so much for watching these. Thank you to my new subscribers. I love you. And as always, thank you for sticking around. Until next time, may this guide you all. Bye for now.